Hey everyone, ahlan wa sahlan fikum, and welcome to video number 7 in the series of Palestinian Arabic dialogues, where I'm going through all of the dialogues in the PalWeb Academy. The rest of the videos are in playlists, so do check them out. And actually, if this is the first video that you're coming across, do try to maybe go through them in order. They're not necessarily in order of difficulty. They're pretty much all as difficult or not as each other, the transcripts themselves. Fortunately, because they are sort of based on these cartoons, they're not too complicated, but I do think that they're still for an intermediate level. I'm not going to go through like the very basic stuff, but the reason to go more or less in order, at least in through this lecture series, is so that you can hear what I've already discussed, because I do want to breeze through that stuff so that I can address stuff that we haven't looked at before in each video, so that it doesn't get like really long. Yeah, without further ado, this video is called Mean صحابك, like who are your friends, and it's essentially about bad influences essentially. So let's just jump right into it, and I will start explaining things along the way. So the first scene is the mom coming home from work, I guess, and the kids are home. Or sorry, the kids are coming home from school, and the mom is saying, أهلين بالحلوين شو كيف أول يوم مدرسة. So, hello darlings. So, remember, shu can be like so, not just what, but so how was the first day of school? And we talked a little bit, and because this is going to come up more in this video, but we talked a little bit about counting in an earlier video. I didn't go into too much detail because it's not that it's complicated, but it's just a whole topic, and I didn't want to take too much time from it. But just remember that when using the ordinal numbers, which are first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th, and last, so awal, tani, talit, and so on until akhir, these, when you're talking, basically when they're modifying a noun, right, the noun comes after, so the ordinal number comes first, then the noun, and in that case, the noun is apparently indefinite, but the whole meaning as a whole is definite, because awal, for example, the first, the second, the last, it's always something specific. So therefore, it's yours. It's almost like the way that a proper noun doesn't have the article on it, because it's already something definite and specific. So awal yom is the first day. And actually, I said that the ordinal number comes first and then the noun, but it could also be the other way. But in that case, you would need to use essentially the ordinal number would be acting as an adjective, because that's normally how adjectives work. They come after the noun and they're subject to agreement, whether masculine, feminine, definite, indefinite, and so on. So that would be اليوم الأول. This is an adjective structure, but there's a special structure for comparative forms and ordinal numbers, where you can do the reverse. The ordinal number or the comparative form, the elative, can come first after the noun, and in that case, everything is considered to be definite. But obviously, you can only do that when you are talking about something definite. In fact, when you use a comparative adjective, so these numbers are like first, second, third, fourth. But if you were using a comparative adjective, so for example, حلو, أحلى. If you say, اليوم الأحلى, it could technically be, like the nicer day or the nicest day, but it could, depending on the context, it could be comparative or superlative. But if you use it, if you use that elative adjective before the noun as awal yom or ahla yom, it is only superlative. It is only the best day, the nicest day, and so on. It's definite, of course. So there will be a couple of cases of counting things here in this video that I wanted to just take a look at in that way. How was the first day of school? And then Sally says زي ما توقعت. Again, ما connecting prepositions and verbs. زي ما توقعت, as I expected. خربشوا, they mixed up. كل الصفوف ورنا طلعت مش بصفي. They mixed up all of the classes, and Rana turned out to be not in my class. Sanad says وإحنا كمان خلطونا, and they mixed us as well. بس المهم إنه نديم طلع معي بالصف. But the important thing is, المهم means the important thing. What matters is that Nadim turned out with me in class. There's something interesting about this احنا كمان خلطونا, and I will mention it when we come to something a little further down. And then Sanad says صحابي معي وأنت لا. So he's saying that to his sister. He's taunting her. He's saying my friends are with me and you no, and your friends aren't with you. And Sally says Mama شوفي Sanad, look at Sanad. And then the mother says حبيبتي أنا بعرف إنه مزعج إنه فصلوا الأصحاب عن بعض. Habibti, sweetheart, I know that it's annoying, it's upsetting that they split up friends from each other. And we looked in the last video at how an, in addition to meaning about, it also means from, like min means from, but an means away from something. So فصلوا الأصحاب عن بعض, they separated friends away from each other. أنا بعيد عن المركز, I'm far away from the center. So this an can also be used to mean from, but away from something. And then let's see, then she says بس ممكن هاي فرصة تتعرفي على أصحاب جداد. But it ممكن meaning possible, or but it could be, maybe this is a chance for you to get to know new friends. To meet new friends. عرف, meaning, because it will be used elsewhere in the video. عرف means to introduce someone to someone else. So عرفتك على علي. عرفتك علي, I introduce you to him. تتعرف, it's the passive form. Remember that you can see on PalWeb the sort of active passive pairs. It's not exactly always passive per se, the reflexive forms, reciprocal forms, but let's just say active passive forms. So اتعرف is the passive form of عرف, so it is to be introduced, i.e., in other words, to meet someone. So اتعرفت عليه means I was introduced to him, i.e., I met him. So maybe this is a chance for you to be introduced to new friends, right? And then Sanad says احنا ما أعطونا واجبات أنا داخل ألعب. They didn't give us homework. I'm going in to play. داخل, active participle of دخل means to go in, so I'm going in to play. And so احنا ما أعطونا واجبات. احنا كمان خلطونا. So we've talked about this before, right? We talked about how in Arabic, especially at least in the dialects, you can, it's very common to mark the topic of a sentence, especially when in the syntax, the topic of the sentence is not actually the subject. The subject is the person or whatever that carries out the action of the sentence. So, خلطونا, it means they mixed us. And here, ما أعطونا واجبات, they didn't give us homework. And the إحنا is just marking who the sentence is about, who I'm talking about. And essentially, when he's saying إحنا, and then all this, he's sort of contrasting this with her experience. And here, they didn't give us homework. It's just saying, like, as for us, they didn't give us homework, so I'm going in to play. And this is very common in general, but it's especially common because in Arabic, like, I mean, with regards to the passive, in standard Arabic, there are actual passive conjugations for all verbs, essentially. And then there are also verbs that are mediopassive, which means that the verb itself has a passive meaning without needing to be conjugated in any particular way. In the dialects, there is no, like for example, katab, or yeah, I mean, katab to write, right? Um, Kotab is, it was written in Standard Arabic, but in the dialect, there's no such thing. There are no passive conjugations, but there are passive, mediopassive verbs like katab to write. In katab, it was written. So there are these passive verbs. That is true, and those are used. But it is also common to instead of even using a passive verb, to use an active verb and mark yourself as the topic. So that's kind of what's happening here. So خلصنا, they mixed us, and well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I just translate it as they mixed us as well, but it's also kind of like saying we were also mixed. احنا ما أعطونا واجبات, we weren't given homework. I mean, it does mean they didn't give us homework. But sometimes instead of expressing something, like if there's something that instinctually in English you would express it using the passive, sometimes in Arabic it would be expressed just with the active and then marking yourself as the topic. Like, you know, for example, he was hit by a car. هو صدمته سيارة. صدمته سيارة means a car hit him. A car hit him. In Arabic we would say he was hit by a car, but in English we would say he was hit by a car, but in Arabic we can just as well say هو صدمته سيارة. And here the who is just the topic, so it kind of gives you the same sense as though, because the point of the passive voice in English is, yeah, I mean, really the whole point of it is to sort of put the focus on the person who experienced the action. So he, I'm talking about him, was hit. In Arabic, because we have this option of marking him as the topic, we don't need to use the passive voice because I'm already marking him as the topic, even though he's not the subject, if that makes sense. So it's just you know, something that you may hear. So let's keep going. احنا ما عطونا واجبات أنا داخل الألعاب. Then Sally says ومش بس هيك قسمونا مجموعات عشوائية ولازم نبدأ نشتغل على مشروع الإنجليزي. So, and that's not all, مش بس هيك, that's, and not just that. I'll come back to this in a second. And we must start working on the English project. I think that's pretty straightforward. And I wanted to stop here with قسمونا مجموعات عشوائية. So how do we say this in English? So literally they split us, right? And then groups, random groups. But what we say in English is they split us up into random groups. But there is no into here. It's literally just saying they split us up random groups. That is normal. And that is actually something that is particular to spoken Arabic, or actually not spoken Arabic, but just Arabic. There are some verbs where in English you would use a preposition just to kind of complement it. It's required to make the whole thing work, but in Arabic this is not the case. So so an example of a verb like that is assam. You're dividing something and you don't need the word into as you do in English. You just say you split it up random groups. And another example of this is abba. So abba means to fill. It's actually, I haven't put it in the dictionary, but abba means to fill. So in English I would say I filled the bottle with water. But in Arabic, so this is what I call a ditransitive verb proper, where there are two objects. Well, yeah, I mean there's an object which is they divided us, and there's an object complement which says how they were divided. So divided into random groups. And abba is the same way. So abba, I've also labeled it as a ditransitive group. If you Google ditransitive, it'll in English it means something a little bit different, but this is the way that I'm using it. An object where there's an object and object complement in Arabic. So abba, to say I filled the bottle with water, I would say عبيت القنينة مي. So the object is what I filled, and then the object complement is what I filled it with. And that's how it works. So in English I would use a preposition, I filled it with water. But in Arabic, this is not necessary. I filled it, water. I split it, random groups. So yeah, just to let you know that that is possible. And there's actually something that is kind of similar to this. I haven't labeled it as a ditransitive verb or anything because I think it's not really an object complement, but there's something similar that we looked at last time in the last video actually, which is how the verbs shaf and fakkar. So in addition to, like, they can take an object, and then after that there can be a comment about how you saw or how you thought about that thing or person or whatever. So shufto means I saw him, but if I say shufto, for example, where is it anyway? What's a good example? I don't know. What was the example that we were looking at? I don't know. I forgot. But just to pick something random here. أهالينا إذا شافونا عم نعمل إشي مع بعض راح ينزعجوا. Our parents, if they saw us, and so this extra definition is to see that. See, in English we would use that, but in Arabic it's not necessary. So if our parents saw us, if our parents saw that we, so the na is, this object here is kind of containing the meaning of that we. So they saw us, but they saw that we are doing something together, then they're going to get mad. لا أنا شفتك صرحتي. I سرحتي. Yeah, I saw that you drifted off, actually. Yeah, I don't know if there's other examples here. راح نشوفهم. Well, no. Actually, that's not a case of this. But with the verb fakkar, it's the same thing, where it's not loading. My internet has been... Okay, whatever. Anyway, but for example, fakkarto, I thought that he, and then comment, what did I think that he was? So, fakkarto mashghul, I thought that he was busy. Right, so it's kind of, it's not really the same thing, but it's just to show you more examples of how in Arabic things kind of follow their own logic. And in a way it's simpler because you're using fewer words, really. Actually, Arabic, I think, is quite a terse language with few, like, sort of extra words added in. So yeah, asamuna, majmu'at, ashwaiya. They split us up into random groups. And then the mother says, طب شو رأيك بهاي الفكرة? Okay, شو رأيك? What do you think about this idea? تعزمي المجموعة عندك، منها بتشتغلوا على المشروع ومنها بتتعرفي عليهم. Yeah, بتتعرفي عليهم, get to know them. منها, just like that way you get a little bit of this and you get a little bit of that. So from that you'll work a little bit on the project, and from it you will get to know them. And we've talked about this already several times at this point, but one of the meanings is at someone's place or someone's place. So تعزمي المجموعة عندك, invite someone, invite the group to your place, right? And we will see this use in many cases actually in this dialogue. So تعزمي المجموعة عندك, invite the group to your place. Go to the dictionary page for عند and you will see lots of examples of that. وأنا بعملكم أشياء زاكية, and I will make treats for you. أشياء زاكية, it seems to literally mean something delicious or delicious things, but this is an idiom which means treats and snacks. This is just how you say treats, essentially, snacks in Arabic. So, at least in Palestinian Arabic. And it's always in the plural. It's not ishi zaki means something delicious. Ashia zaki means treats. It's always in the plural to have this meaning. And Sally says, okay, Mama Meshi. All right, Mom Meshi, sounds good. And then Sally she's working with a group and she says, أنا بقول لبكرة خلينا نقدم هدول الثلاث شخصيات ونستنى نشوف شو بتحكي المس. So I say, for tomorrow, let's present these three characters. I'll get back to this in a second. and wait to see what the teacher says. So هدول ثلاث شخصيات. Um, so back to counting. When we count, and I mentioned this in another earlier dialogue, but when we count, the numbers from 3 to 19, so 3 to 10 and then 11 to 19, each of those two groups, they have their own counting forms, essentially, construct forms. So the numbers from 3 to 10, they all end in tamarbuta, so like telate, tamanye, ashara. But when you count, you remove, and some of them undergo slight other changes as well, but you just remove the tamarbuta in general. So telate, talat, shakhsiyat, three characters. So that's why ثلاثة becomes ثلاث شخصيات. And when you want to say like the three characters or these three characters, actually you just attach all of those. You just put all of that right before the number itself, and you don't need to sort of. There's no like. Agreement at play. You know, you don't need the article in more places or anything. In fact, you see the numbers, they can also operate as adjectives. So in that case, you would, similar to what I was saying earlier about the ordinals, you have these two options, and if you treat them as just adjectives, you would have, first of all, the opposite order, and then the agreement rules would apply. So الشخصيات الثلاثة, and by the way, this is not a construct form. As you can see, we say ثلاثة rather than ثلاث. الشخصيات الثلاثة, the three characters. ثلاث شخصيات, three characters. But then you can also just do this, where instead of saying الشخصيات الثلاثة, هدول الثلاث شخصيات. So this is also an option. There's actually quite a lot of flexibility, really, when it comes to counting and how these structures are formed in Arabic. There are some rules that apply, but I'm gonna this is gonna get too complicated if I try to sort of explain all of that. Instead, you can check out the wiki, which has more information about those structures, so you can like delve into that in detail. But anyway, yeah. So then they're in the room working on the project, and her classmate says, "Okay, يلا نظبطها, let's get it done. لأنه بعد شوي بيوصلوا أهلي." So okay, let's get it done because بعد شوي, in a little bit, soon, essentially. There is a word for soon, قريبا, but بعد شوي it's another way of saying soon. In a little bit, my parents will arrive. And then she calls over to the other girl. She says, Lubna, which is that girl's name. Lubna, Lubna, يلا تعالي, شو بتعملي? Lubna, come on, what are you doing? And she's taking selfies. And Lubna says, but sawwar, which means, so sawwar means to take pictures of something. Sawwar means to take pictures of yourself. So, but sawwar, I'm taking pictures of myself. I'm taking selfies. بدي أنزل post group work. And she's speaking English pretty much. But she says, I want to upload. Nazal, literally to download, but it's also used in the opposite way. I want to post a group work post. And she says, بس ما عم تطلع معي صورة زي ما بدي. Again, زي plus preposition, preposition plus ma plus verb. As I want. But like the picture is not coming out for me. I'm present continuous. It is not coming out for me or with me as I want. And then the mom comes in and she says, with the treats, and she says, تفضلوا يا صبايا, here you go. And the Sally and her classmate, they say, شكرا أنتي غلبتي حالك. This is the classmate. She says, thank you, ma'am. You غلبتي حالك. She's being very polite. I mean, you troubled yourself for us. We looked at this verb before. And then Sally says, شكرا mama. And Sanad is in the other room playing video games, and he says, دير بالك فراس. هاي في واحد طالع من وراء الشجرة. Remember, hay means something that is happening right now. I mean, it's used in different ways, but in this case, it's being used with a present verb, which is طالع. So, so there is someone, في واحد, there's someone right now coming out from behind the tree. He's playing video games. And the mom says, سند, مين هذا فراس? Who's this فراس? مش حكينا إنه ما نضيف حدا ما بنعرفه. Once again, as I've said several times before, this mish is, it's affecting the whole sentence. Normally, verbs are negated with ma, right? So, ما حكينا, we didn't speak. The reason this is a mish is because it's referring to all of this. Isn't that we said that we don't add anyone that we don't know. Add on the video games like Portal or whatever. Yeah, haven't we said that we don't add anyone that we don't know? And he says, Mama, هذا ولد جديد بصفي. Mom, this is a new kid in my class. And the mom says, طب يلا خلص وقتك على الجيمز. Okay, يلا. Your time at the games is over. Like on the games is over. And then she says, انهي معه وروح اقرأ لك كتاب. Finish with him and go read yourself a book. Quick thing about the verb ara, just as an FYI, ara means to read. And just an interesting thing to note, I guess I haven't really talked about it explicitly, but there are, like, Palestinian Arabic has certain phonological rules, let's say, or a way that things are pronounced in the dialect, right? So, for example, qaf is pronounced in different ways in different dialects, or like accents. In urban Arabic, it's pronounced as a hamza, like in this case, ara, right? And not only that, but I mentioned this in another video, but final hamza, like this. So the verb originally in Standard Arabic is qara, with a hamza at the end. Now, hamzas at the end of words are usually dropped in the dialects. So this becomes not ara, but ara, just without the hamza. So if I want to put this in the past tense, for example, it would be ana aret. In fact, it behaves exactly like, I still spell it this way because people do spell it this way, but this is equivalent to, like, for example, masha or haka. Ana mashet, ana haket, ana aret, right? It's just an a. There's no hamza. So the thing is, yeah. So spoken Arabic has these sort of tendencies, these transformations, let's say, where things that are pronounced in one way in Standard Arabic, in spoken Arabic, they undergo some kind of change and they are pronounced differently. But within spoken Arabic, there are words that are considered to be, and this is, by the way, this is true of every language. It has this kind of thing, where there are words that are inherited, which means that the words develop over time as the dialect evolves, or as that language evolves, and therefore it evolves with the language, and it undergoes these changes, and therefore Arab or qara becomes ara, right? But then there are other words that are considered to be borrowed, and then there's also things in between, by the way. But like it's a bit of a spectrum. But then on the other side of the spectrum are words that are borrowed, which means that they don't abide by the typical phonological rules of that language, because they were inserted at a later time, essentially. Now, I don't know. I mean, just to show you that this is true in other languages as well. Like in Spanish, historically, F's in Latin became silent, and that's why in a lot of the other Romance languages, words that have an F in them, in Spanish, that F is a silent H. And so actually, natively Spanish doesn't have an F, actually, phoneme, but it does obviously have words that have F's in them, like fiesta or whatever. There are words that have that. but those words are considered to be borrowed, which means they entered from Latin or from whatever other language at a later date. Um, so yeah, so they exhibit not all of the normal phonological changes that Spanish natively underwent. And so Arabic, it's the same way, but there's an additional sort of complication to this, um, which is that spoken Arabic coexists in real time with the language that no now the key caveat here. Um, Spoken Arabic didn't evolve from Standard Arabic. They are sisters, not father-son relationship. Just to be clear about that. But in any case, these two variants coexist at the same time, and so there's a lot of kind of influence from one and two. Actually, there's mutual influence, but there's definitely, in any case, for what is relevant for us, a lot of influence from Standard Arabic in the dialects. Um, so so yeah, so this is an example of a verb where both the native pronunciation ara coexists with the standard pronunciation, which is also used of this verb in particular. So this verb can be ara, aret, or qara, qarat. These both are valid, even in spoken Arabic. So she says, "اقرأ لك كتاب," right? But it could just as well be. Is there? Yeah, yeah. So in another video we saw, "خذوا يا أولاد أوراق تعليمات السلامة وإجروها." Is how he pronounced it. إجروها منيح. See, he pronounced it in a totally sort of dialectal way, whereas here it's pronounced differently. So that's just that can happen, and yeah, I guess that was just an FYI, and why sometimes some of the just you may expect some words, like another example like daiman, which means always. You may hear daiman or daiman. Actually, people say it both ways. Obviously, like if you pronounce it in the standard Arabic way, it gives a little bit more of an elevated sound, but that's like always an option, actually. So depending on that, you can even glean what sort of vibe that person is trying to give off in their speech, if they're trying to sound formal or whatever. So yeah, just a little note about that. Let's keep going. Then Sanad says to his mom, "Mama, bas khams da'ayat." In this case, bas meaning only, just only. Khams da'ayat, and then she is not having it, so he says, "Okay, meshi." And here's another example of counting. Khamse is the number 5. Khams da'ayat without the tamarbuta is 5 minutes because you're counting the minutes. Therefore, you remove the tamarbuta, and just to prove that. We see that the noun is actually khamse, and it says construct khams, right, without the marbuta. Okay, then he says, Yalla Firas, ana lazim aruh, khilas waqti. All right, Firas, I need to go, my time is up. My time has, so khilas to be over, to end. And then Firas says, khilas waqtak, enta bitrud ahlak ya zalame. So, your time is up. أنت بترد على أهلك. So we saw this in another video, in another dialogue. So rad means to reply, to answer, but it also means to obey or to listen to someone in the sense of obey. So you listen to your parents, man. That's what it means in this context. So yeah, to listen to. In fact, it's weird that in English we say to listen to. Well, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, in English we say to listen to someone, as in to obey someone, but in Arabic we say rad ala, to obey someone. And then Firas says, Ana balab ad ma biddi. We talked about this before, that ma connects not just prepositions to verbs, but also certain like indefinite nouns like ad ma biddi, or what ma haketli, or yom ma jit, the day that I arrived, the time that I, whatever, as much as I want. Mahal ma'adna, the place that we sat, where we sat. So yeah. Insa, shuf hal harake. Forget about it. Look at this move in the game. Anyway, the classmates are leaving and they say bye auntie, yalla bye. And then Lubna says Sally ما تنسي تحطي اسمي على المشروع Sally, don't forget to put my name on the project, yeah? And then Sally says, once they're gone, Sally says to her mom, Mama, Lubna ما قبلت تشتغل معنا ولا إشي. Ibil is to accept or to agree to do something. So essentially, she didn't agree to work with us on anything. Essentially, like she wouldn't do something. She wouldn't accept. Yeah, she wouldn't agree to it. And then she says ضلت تصور حالها زي كأنها بتشتغل معنا. So ضل, remember, it means to continue doing something, to keep doing something. So she kept taking pictures of herself. And see, remember, صور to take pictures of someone. It's صور to take pictures of yourself. But that doesn't mean that you can't still say انه صور حاله. He, like, you can say هو اتصور, he took pictures of himself, or you can say صور حاله, he took pictures of himself. It's you can use the transitive with the reflexive, so he took pictures of himself, or there's actually a verb in Arabic that contains all of that in one word, which is اتصور. So the reflexive, sometimes there are reflexive verbs, and sometimes you can just use the reflexive pronoun, which is hal, himself, to build that. Either of those options are fine. ضلت تتصور, it's fine, or ضلت تصور حالها. زي كأنها, as though she were working with us. I'm not sure if you can hear that they're like cleaning outside, so I'm just gonna close this. And then she says, the mom says, okay, yeah. Then the mom says, لاحظت عليها لما فت عندكم. Here's another example of عند, like to your place, right? So, yeah, I noticed her when I entered عندكم, I entered your place, i.e. when I went to where you guys were, when I went in the room. Actually, the meaning is where you were, not necessarily your place. I kind of split these into different, at or where something is. Whereas the meaning of your place, it's the place it belongs to you. It's a slightly different sense. Like, there's one where the عندكم is a stable place, like عندي as in my house, and then there's one that's wherever I am. Like, if I could be somewhere other than my house, and وبتيجي عندي, it means to come where I am, to come to where I am, not necessarily to come to my house. So here it's I went to where you guys were, i.e. went to the room. And I just want to say that, like, لاحظ and انتبه, which both mean like to notice, slightly different nuances, but they both mean to notice. We say انتبهت عليه and لاحظت عليه. I noticed to them. I noticed to her. And then Sally says, بس هي ماما كتير منيحة وعندها كتير أصحاب وبتعرف أخبار الكل. But she's really good, like she's really great, and she has a lot of friends, and she knows everyone's business, literally. I mean, everyone's news, everyone's business. She's a gossip, basically. And Sally says, and she says, بتصدقي, can you believe إنها بتقول, well, I'm just gonna read it. بتصدقي إنها بتقولي إنه رنا قالت لها إنه إني أنا بغار منها لأنه صوتها حلو. So, can you believe that she tells me that Rana told her that I am jealous of her and jealous minha of her because her voice is nice. It's just gossip. And then she says وهي زعلانة من Rana, and she's upset at Rana. كيف هيك بتقول عني? She's upset at Rana, like at how she could say such a thing about me. And then the mom says معقول. We've seen this word a lot. Really? Rana صديقة الطفولة. Rana, الطفولة is childhood, the childhood friend. ما أظن رنا بتحكي هيك إشي. And أظن will come up again. أظن means like it's a phrase, it's an expression, means I guess, but you can negate it. I mean, because it's technically a verb, so you can say ما أظن I don't guess, or I don't suppose, I don't think Rana would say such a thing, says such things. So then she says, أصلا to begin with أنا هاي لبنى ما عجبتني أبدا تصرفاتها بالمرة ما عجبتني. So to begin with, I and see, this is topic marking again. So as for me, this Lubna didn't please me at all, right? Remember, we've seen this before. Ajab, to like something, or sorry, well, yeah, I mean, semantically to like something, but it like I've translated as to please because the relationship between the object and the subject is opposite of what it would be if I would say to like. So literally it's Lubna did not please me at all, but the intended meaning is I didn't like this Lubna, right? So I don't like this. Actually, I didn't like this Lubna. This is in the past. Let's just change that. I didn't like this Lubna at all to begin with. I wasn't pleased with her behavior is indeed like closer to what ajab means, so I'll just leave it that way. But yeah, you could also say, I didn't like this Lubna at all to begin with. I didn't like her behavior at all. I wasn't pleased with her behavior at all, but either way. I think that has been explained. Next, Sally says, شكله خلاص. It seems خلاص. It seems it's over. That's it. بعد ما غيروا الصفوف تغير كل إشي. Again, passive. Here's a perfect example of active passive forms together. After they changed the classes, everything كل إشي اتغير. Everything changed. بعد ما غيروا الصفوف اتغير كل إشي. So this is the active form. They changed the classes, and this is the passive form, the form where the subject undergoes the action or the what happens. So the thing, like everything, changed on its own, whereas this is to change something. Form 2, form 5, typical like صور, تصور, غير, اتغير, عرف, اتعرف. Very typical pairs there, form 2 and form 5. Then the mom, the boy is still playing video games. So the mom says, "Sana شو حكينا? What did we say?" And he says, "Okay." Next day or whatever, Sally comes up to her parents and she says, "Mama, Baba, بصير حدا يوصلني عند لبنى بسرعة." And here the meaning of عند is someone's place. So عند لبنى, take me to. So can, بصير, we have looked at this before. It means can or could. It's an idiomatic usage of صار. So can someone take me to Lubna's place quickly? ماما بابا بصير حدا يوصلني عن لبنى بسرعة. مين لبنى? The father asks. صحبتي الجديدة, says Sally. My new friend. Who's Lubna? My new friend. And then the mom, obviously she knows who she's talking about, so she says, لبنى خلاص أنا بوصلك. لبنى خلاص. All right, I'll take you. And then the mom, they're in the car, and the mom says, Sally, أنتِ yeah, interesting. Yeah, so and it is again marking the topic, right? Otherwise, it would be هي أول مرة بتروحي عند لبنى. This is the first time you go to Lubna's, but again, marking the topic as أنتِ. You, as for you, this is the first time that you go to Lubna's place. And then she says, وإحنا لم نعرفها. We saw this before. وإحنا لم نعرفها ولم نعرف أهلها. بس أنا بثق فيكي. We saw all of this before. So, لا. Actually, I've said that it is it is used for the negative imperative, but that's a different thing. It is also a conjunction, which is essentially synonymous to wala as a conjunction. So, see, la, neither nor, wala, neither nor, la being a little bit more formal. And this would be at the beginning of the neither nor. So, this could have been ولم نعرفها ولم نعرف أهلها, or لم نعرفها ولم نعرف أهلها. This is probably more somehow correct, I mean prescriptively, but this is optional. So yeah, neither do we know her nor her parents. But I trust you. And again, we've talked about this several times at this point. Wathaq is the verb meaning to trust, but it's a highly formal verb. It's a highly borrowed verb to speak of inherited and borrowed, as I was earlier, which means the pronunciation is with the tha and with the qaf as wathaq, not like wata or something. Wathaq. And not only that, but it undergoes, or like it remains, it has this feature that is very characteristic of Standard Arabic, which is that verbs where the first root letter is waw, in form 1, the waw disappears. That doesn't happen in the dialect. In fact, we saw above that the one of the girls says بعد شوي بيوصلوا or بوصلوا أهلي. So if this was in Standard Arabic, it would be يصلوا. But well, don't quote me on the harakat because that's not my expertise. But anyway, the waw would disappear, whereas here it does not. But in wathaq, in the present, it does, because it's and by the way, this the way that the waw disappears, even in Standard Arabic, it's in the present tense, not in the past tense. So yeah, so bathaq fiki. This is extremely sort of inherited in that sense, or sorry, borrowed. So basana bathaq fiki, I trust you. And then Sally says, but by the way, the suffixes are still the same. Bathaq, tithaq, btithiq, bathiq, mnithiq, whatever. The suffix, the prefixes are still the same. It's just that the waw disappears. Then Sally says, Mama, شو بده يصير يعني? What is going to happen though? Like, yeah. And the mom says, لا ولا إشي. No, nothing. بس للاحتياط, just in case, للاحتياط, just in case. شو رأيك? What do you think? شو رأيك نعمل رسالة سرية بيني وبينك? How about we make a secret code between me and you? Remember, بين, when you say between me and you, between him and her, between whatever, it's often reduplicated. So بيني وبينك. Yeah, so how about we make a secret message between us? إذا في أي إشي ما ارتحتي له ابعت لي 3 قلوب خضر. So again, ثلاثة قلوب, 3 hearts. Counting, so we remove this is the construct form without the tamarbuta. Send me 3 green hearts. And I wanted to say, yeah, so irtah means to be comfortable with something, to rest, to be relaxed, to be comfortable. So if there's anything ما ارتحتي له that you weren't comfortable with it, send me 3 green hearts. In the dictionary, there's a couple of examples of this that you can check out if you want to see it in action. I really like this verb. It's very common as well. مرتاح means comfortable, and it'll come up in this dialogue. And then the مرتاح obviously being the active participle. And then the mom says, هيك بفهم عليكي. This way I understand to you, that I understand that you mean. In قصدك, that you mean. We saw this word qasd, which in English would translate to I mean, you mean, he means, but it's not a verb. It's just it's a noun. But in English, a verb is used. So this way I understand that you mean احكي معي هلا قولي لي لازم تروحيني. Speak with me right now. Speak to me now. Tell me that you need to take me home. روح, to go home or to take someone home. And then Sally says حاسة حالي قاعدة مع المحقق كونان. I mentioned this before. Detective Conan is a cartoon character that's popular in the Middle East. And has or hasis, hasse, and قاعد, these are both active participles with a present meaning. Even though most of the time active participles have a perfect meaning of has done something, but some high frequency verbs do have a present meaning. So I feel myself to be sitting present with Detective Conan. And then Sanad says, Sanad is back playing video games in his home, and he says, أيوة فراس، أيوة برافو فراس، اسمع استنوني شوي بدي أروح الحمام وهلا برجع. So yeah, go Firas, or good job Firas. Listen, wait for me for a sec, for briefly, شوي, just a little bit. I need to, or I'm going to go to the bathroom, and هلا برجع, I'll come right back. I'll come, back now. And then the dad passes by the headphones that were, he can hear the Firas's voice, and Firas is saying, وين سند and then it's like bleeped out. وين سند something. يلا شو صار له هذا something. So what happened to this something? مش عارف يلعب, doesn't he know how to play? شوف هل something. Look at this something. And then Sanad comes back as his father is listening to this boy cursing. And Sanad says, Baba, إيش عم تعمل? What are you doing? I'm being the present continuous marker, optionally, but yeah, شو عم تعمل? I was going to say something about this, but it's not necessary. Yeah, what are you doing? And then Abu Sanad says, Baba, مين هذا? Baba, who is this? وشو هالألفاظ السيئة اللي بيحكيها? What are these alfaz? I mean, bad words, like, usually I would just say كلمات مش منيحة, bad words, literally, but this is a bit more elevated way of saying it, like bad. And sayyi is a borrowed word. This is like a formal way. Like to say bad in Arabic, there's different ways. Atil, I mean in spoken Arabic, atil or just mish mnih. Sayyi is a bit elevated. So alfaz sayyi'ah is like a sort of elevated way of like saying bad words. Yeah. I don't know if there's an equivalent in English. Like curse word. No. Yeah. Anyway. So, and what are these bad words that he's saying? And then Sana says, هذا ولد جديد بالصف. هو بضله يسبسب بس كتير شاطر بالgames. Games, right? This, he, like we said before, هذا هذه هدول also means he, she, they, or it's used that way. So he is, or this is, a new kid in class. He keeps swearing constantly, but he's very skilled, شاطر, smart, or skilled, good at something, at games. So sub is to curse, sub is to curse constantly. And here we have dal, again, which means to stay or to keep doing something, but sometimes it can be with the you can suffix the subject back onto it, or not. I don't, well, I think earlier Sally said ضلت تصور حالها زي كأنه بتشتغل معنا or something. ضلت, yeah, right? So here there's no suffix, right? ضلت تصور حالها. She kept taking pictures of herself. And here he just says, but here it's with the suffix. He says بضله يسبسب. He keeps swearing. It's really the same. Don't worry about it. Whether or not the suffix is used. And then he says, يعني قلت له 1000 مرة ما يضل يسبسب. Again, I told him 1,000 times to not keep swearing constantly. وما يغلط بالحكي, and not to insult someone. يغلط بالحكي. This is to make a mistake or to insult someone, and to not insult in speech, when speaking. But dad, and then the father says, Baba, ما تسمح لحد مين ما كان يغلط عليك حتى لو بالمزح. Baba, son, don't give permission to anyone, whoever it may be, to insult you. Now, we talked about how ma connects prepositions to verbs and also some certain nouns. And also with question words, if you attach ma to question words, the meaning is like whatever, whoever, wherever, whenever. Yeah, like مين ما بدك, whoever you want. شو ما بدك, whatever you want. امتى ما بدك, whenever you want. وين ما بدك, whenever you want. Wherever you want. كيف ما بدك, however you want. right? So this is what's going on here. Min makan, whoever it may be. So don't give permission to anyone, no matter whoever it may be, to insult you, even if بالمزح, as a joke. هلا مزح is joking, or I wrote jest. A joke is mazha, so but this is in joking. So even if in joking, even if jokingly. And then he says وما بحب اتصاحب أولاد بيستخدموا ألفاظ سيئة. And I don't want, in this case, hab means to love, to like, to love, but also to want. So I don't want you to befriend kids that use bad words. And I haven't mentioned this before, but just since while we're at it, illi is the word that begins relative clauses like that or who. So the children that something something, the children who something something. But that is only used when the noun is definite. Otherwise, just nothing is used. So kids that use bad words is just أولاد بيستخدموا, kids that is implied here, kids that use bad words, right? And then the father says لأنه الناس اللي بتقضي معهم معظم وقتك هم اللي بيأثروا عليك. So because the people that you spend with them most of your time, they are the ones who affect you. Again, بتقضي معظم, you can look those up in the dictionary if you want. معظم, it's not really that common. I think mostly it would be like أغلب وقتك, for example. أغلب الوقت, yeah. Anyway, and then Sally says, Sally is at the girl's house, and now she's saying لبنى من أول ما إجيت, and we've seen exactly this before. أول ما is as soon as something, so or from the moment, from as soon as I arrived, from the moment I arrived. من أول ما إجيت وأنتي بتحطي makeup. This is special. So we've heard of it as meaning while or when, and this third meaning kind of emerges from that, but it's a little bit, it also exists in a very specific construction. Let's what? Oh, no, wait, okay, this is, okay, just one second. Got it. Okay, never mind. So where were we? Yeah, so this wow is and, but this wow is this one. So I mentioned how the verb, well, actually, no, I don't need to go back to that because that's let's just take a look at this. So this is a very specific construction where the wow kind of means like has been, and the construction is a set amount of time, then u, and then what has been happening that whole time. So من أول ما إجيت, so since I arrived, u, let's say has been, أنتِ بتحطي makeup. This has been happening the whole time since you arrived. So, I mean, it's kind of like and. It ultimately emerges from, it's derived from that meaning. So this has been happening and this has been happening all at the same time. So from the moment I arrive and from the moment I arrive, you have been putting on makeup. And in this sentence, which is in another dialogue that we're going to look at, someone says, من وقت ما عملت من وقت ما عملت إمسند هذا الجروب, from the moment that إمسند made this group, right? Here we have min, giveaway. So since this whole time, and so since she made the group and like took over the marketing, U has been الشغل نار, work has been on fire. So yeah, so work has been on fire since all of this. So yeah, just FYI about that. The wow has actually several usages, and then we also know that it means while something is happening. In fact, this is essentially coming from this, but um, but the translation of has been is different because it just is. Just look at the sentences and you'll know what I mean. But yeah, and enough about that because I don't want to get too caught up with details. So لبنى من أول ما إجيت وأنت بتحطي makeup. So the moment I arrived, you've been putting on makeup. في حدا جاي غيري. Is there anyone coming other than me? غير meaning other than something. So غيري other than me, غيرك other than you, or yeah, but that's it. Other than. And then Lubna says حبيبتي احنا رح نطلع ما رح نضل بالبيت. Habibti, my dear, we're going to go out. We're not going to stay نضل بالبيت. We're not going to stay at home. So ضل, depending, it can be to keep doing something or to stay in a given situation. And this could have been ما رح نضلنا بالبيت. That would have been fine as well. And then Lubna says وراح أعرفك. We saw this verb, right, to introduce. راح أعرفك على شلة أكبر منا مش من مدرستنا. And I'm going to introduce you to a group of friends, شلة, group of friends, big older than us, not from our school. And then Sally says بس أنت ما قلتي لي بس أنت ما قلتي لي هيك وأنا ما خبرت أهلي. But you didn't tell me that, and I haven't let my parents know. And then Lubna's laughing. عن جد أنت لسه بتخبري أهلك? Really? You still let your parents know? You still inform your parents? خبر, to inform someone, or to let someone know about something. And then she says خلاص, and this is a good sentence, خلاص ما هم بفكروكي عندي شو راح يفرق يعني. And we just talked about this فكر, right? How فكر, it can take an object and then a comment about like that object. So they think that you, and then the key is like that you are at my place عندي. So عندي here means at my place. So هم بفكروكي عندي, they think that you're at my place. That's exactly the meaning that comes out of this. You don't need the that as you would in English here. بفكروكي عندي, they think that you're at my place. And the ma, as we've talked about before, it just emphasizes. So, and it emphasizes like, what's the official definition? Indicates certainty, conviction, or emphasis regarding statements that contradict expectation. So, like, essentially, what, like, this is specifically responding to Sally's reaction. So she's reacting back. Well, they think that you're at my place. So, شو راح يفرق يعني? What difference is it going to make? فرق, to make a difference. So, what is it going to make a difference? What difference is it going to make? What difference does it make? What difference will it make? شو راح يفرق? I mean, technicalities, but yeah. And then she says يلا راح أروح أجيب شنطتي بسرعة. All right, I'm gonna go get my bag really quick. And then Lubna says قال ما خبرت أهلي قال مش عارفة إمتى آخر مرة سمعت هالجملة. So as for this part, I don't know when the last time was. آخر مرة, this is again an ordinal. So again, in English, the last time, but in Arabic, آخر is an ordinal number, first, second, third, last. It comes first, it comes before the noun, and the noun is indefinite, but the whole thing is understood as definite. So آخر مرة, the last time. أول مرة, or أول يوم مدرسة, the first day of school. آخر مرة, the last time. Even though مرة and يوم appear to be indefinite, but because this is an ordinal, this is a numeral, an elative or an ordinal number, i.e. comparative, superlative form, or an ordinal, then everything is understood to be definite. So I don't know when the last time was that I heard this sentence. And then this al, so ما خبرت أهلي, I didn't let my parents know. And then this al, we've talked about it before, but it's like it's a quotation marker. So look, all I did is actually just put it in quotes, because it's just like doing like this, like because she's not. If she was actually talking about Sally, Sally said she would have said alat ما خبرت أهلها or alat ما خبرت أهلي. But this is not alat, and the reason is because it's not being used really as a verb. It's just a quotation. So and see, it's used in both like al ما خبرت أهلي al. So yeah, that's what's going on there. And then the mom says مش معقول شو هاد. Oh, she's driving. The mom is saying مش معقول شو هاد ساكن بآخر الدنيا. This is a very common expression. آخر الدنيا is like very far away. Literally at the end of the world, but it's like very far away. مش معقول شو هاد. It's unbelievable. What is this? ساكنة, like she's living at the. Does she live at the end of the world? Does she live? So this is just a way of saying she lives so far away. It's figurative. معقول, of course, meaning believable, and so مش معقول as an adjective, right? معقول as a phrase, it's like really, but literally it means believable as an adjective. So مش معقول, unbelievable. And then she gets the 3 hearts from Sally, and she says ألو ماما Sally. She calls her. She says ألو ماما Sally. أنا لازم أخذك هلا حضري حالك. So ألو ماما Sally, hello dear Sally. I need to go get you right now. Pick you up. Yeah, I'm gonna pick you up right now. Get ready, right? And then they're in the car, and she says, "Mama, شو صار? Mama, what happened?" And she says, Sally says, كانت بدها إيانا نروح معها على محل ما بعرفه مع ناس ما بعرفهم بدون ما أحكي لكم. Pretty self-explanatory. She wanted us, and remember, for the millionth time, I will say that, like, you can't stack one pronoun onto another. So with biddo in particular, because it is conjugated with suffixes, essentially whenever want, like the verb to biddo, has an object, like I want this, or an object that is a pronoun, right? I want that, or I want it, or I need it. Necessarily, you need to use this iya particle to hold the pronoun. You can't just say bidha na. No, it has to sit on something. So كانت بدها يانا, and it doesn't have a meaning. It just means she wanted us. That's it. Just look at the na. كانت بدها يانا نروح معها. Yeah, she wanted us to go with her to a place that I don't know, with people that I don't know, without بدون ما, connecting the preposition with the verb, بدون ما أحكي لكم, without me telling you. And then she says وأنا بصراحة بالمرة ما ارتحت. Remember, ارتاح, to be comfortable. So, and I, to be honest, بالمرة, not at all, ما ارتحت. I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable at all. And then the mom says برافو حبيبتي إنك أخذتي القرار الصح. أنا فخورة فيكي كتير. فخور, of course, proud. So أنا فخورة فيك, or فخور فيك, or فخورة فيكي. I am proud of you a lot. And yeah, and bravo, good job, darling, that you took the right decision, that you made the right decision. Pretty self-explanatory there. And then she says شو رأيك هلا تحكي مع رنا ووصلك عنها. وصل, we saw it before, meaning to take someone somewhere, to give someone a ride somewhere. So شو رأيك, what do you think? How about now you speak with Rana, and I will take you عنها, to her place. We've seen this eind several times. So عنها, to her place. And then Sally uses أظن, like we saw before. The mom had said ما أظن. She said ما أظن رنا تحكي هيك إشي. So meaning I don't think so. And here she's saying أظن هيك راح أعمل. I guess, or I think that I'm going to do so, هيك, like that. And then she says, oh, and then at the end of the video, speaking to the audience, Sally says, فكرة الماما إنه يكون بيناتنا رسالة سرية. Oh, I just noticed something interesting here. Okay, so فكرة الماما إنه يكون بيناتنا رسالة سرية لما أكون مش مرتاحة فكرة عبقرية. So, mom's idea that there be, and okay, what to start with? Okay, let's start with this. So remember how I said بيني وبينك, like to the reduplication with بين, to say between me and you, between him and her, and so on. The preposition is بين, but it's also, I need to, it's kind of weird, but I guess I need to put it into the dictionary somehow, but it has a plural form, essentially, which is this بينات na. So it could have been إنه يكون no بيني وبينها, but this is also possible. بيناتكم, بيناتنا. I guess it's especially, I need to think about what context or like how it's most often used, but I guess it's with with the plural, like بيني وبينك and بيناتنا, بيناتكم, بيناتهم. So it's like a plural form somehow of the preposition, which is a weird thing to have, but anyway. I want to come back to this in a second, but let's do the rest. So mom's idea that there be a secret message when I am not مرتاحة, comfortable, is a genius idea. Okay, that's the rest of the sentence is pretty self-explanatory. But يكون بيناتنا, what is, so that there be a secret message. So how do we say there is in Arabic? Well, we say fi, right? But it's actually more complicated, or it's not more complicated, but it's a little bit different than that. So in Arabic, well, this is kind of a big topic, but in Arabic, I mentioned this, I think, in the first video or something like that. I mean, the first dialogue video. There's no verb to be, actually. Like the verb can, it's easier to understand it as meaning to be, but it's not really. It's actually modifying the verb to be, which is like blank. So imagine this verb is blank, and can modifies that blank. And can is a copular verb, like we've mentioned before, that modifies the existence, the state. And it is therefore similar to صار. So can, صار, بطل, ضل. They modify the verb to be, which is just a ghost, which is blank, and it's essentially modifying the way that changes, that state changes over time. Now, if you just want to say there is, you can't just, like, you need to somehow hint that this is there, because otherwise it would just be like, I mean, a lot of languages do this. In fact, in English, we don't say is a pen, we say there is a pen. So you need to somehow just sort of hint at the existence of this verb, because otherwise I would just say alam, okay, is a pen, okay, but I don't know, it's incomplete. So we have this word fi, which is actually like a meaningless so-called expletive, which hints at the existence of that hidden verb, so to speak. So fi, and then blank, verb there is, and then the to be, and then pen. There is a pen. Fi alam. But it's not that fi itself is a verb. It is a particle that hints at that verb. Now the thing is, and this is where we're coming to the ikun benatna, is that not like fi is used when nothing else is there to hint at that, or to modify that the existence. Now the existence of something, you need, like, the only way that it can be hinted at when you're talking about the existence, right? There is this, there is that. It can only be hinted at by a preposition, and fi indeed is a preposition, so that works. Fi alam, and essentially the point is, and by the way, the prepositional pseudo verbs like عندي alam, معي alam, and all of that, it's essentially the same structure as there is something. You're just saying there is something, and you're modifying that as there is something at my place. There is something with me, there is something whatever, and the ultimate meaning ends up being I have, on my person. I have like different forms of to have. We looked at this. Well, actually, I can just do. Actually, I can just do it here. Verbs, pseudo verbs. Well, actually, it doesn't show the meanings. But عندي, to have, ilo, to have. These are all prepositions. Mao, to have. Fiyo, to have, in it, to contain. Ale, to have, on it. So yeah, they're all indicating the existence of something in a different in relation to something else. And the thing is, here we say that there be a secret message between us, and there's no fee, there's nothing like that. And the reason is because بيناتنا is fulfilling that function. It is hinting at the existence of something which is this hidden to be, which is right here. This is not the verb to be. It's actually the verb to be is somehow hidden right here. So فكرة الماما إنه يكون بيناتنا, that there be between us a secret message when I'm not comfortable, is a genius idea. So that's why the fee is not necessary. But actually, it is actually like possible to have fee here. It is optional. Like, in fact, all of these prepositional pseudoverbs like عندي, إلي, معي, they can't, because they are built off of the same structure of there is something. The fee is still possible to use. So you can say في عندي ألم, في إلي صديق, في معي I don't know, دزدان or something, or just عندي إلي معي. The fee is optional, because it becomes unnecessary once you have the preposition indicating or like hinting at the existence of that verb. So you may hear في إلي, في معي, في عندي, and that is totally absolutely normal. And you could say إنه يكون في بيناتنا. That would be absolutely fine as well. But once the preposition is there, it is optional. The fee can be removed. And in fact, there are some cases where it must be removed. Fee, it must be something indefinite. So you have to say, so like عندي البطاقة, I have the card. Yes. في عندي بطاقة, I have a card, or عندي بطاقة. So without the fee, you can use it with definite and indefinite things, but with fee, it must be something indefinite. You can't say there is the something. There's only there is a something. So yeah, that was a bit complicated, but there's more information about this in the wiki. So anyway, we're at the end of the video. Imsanad says, وأنا بشجعكم تخترعوا رمز سري أنتوا أولادكم يبعتوا لكم إياه لما يحسوا حالهم بمواقف مش مريحة. So, and I encourage you to invent a secret code, you and your children, for them to send to you when they feel themselves they feel that they are in I'm just thinking about something for a sec. In uncomfortable situations. And I just wanted to restate about this that so with objects that are pronouns, so in this case kom and for him, the order of pronoun objects is indirect first, direct after. So as you can see here, indirect first, direct after, but obviously you can't stack them onto each other. So whenever you have both, you need to use this iya, which we saw earlier for bid, for biddo ya, he wants it. That's just for that verb in particular because it's a pseudo verb, so it's conjugated with suffixes. But in other cases, I mean, if I say like, if I don't have an indirect object, it would just be yibato. But because I have yibatulkom, I have to, this gets displaced after the indirect object, and then it has to be on this suffix, on this particle. So yeah, that's that about that. And then she says, إذا بدكم أفكار أكتر عن الموضوع اضغطوا هون. And if you want more ideas about the topic, click here. And then Sally says وما تنسوا تشاركوا الفيديو مع أصحابكم. And don't forget to share the video with your friends. And that is all for this video. I knew it was going to be long, and well, it was just about as long as I expected, to be honest. So I will leave it at that. Otherwise, you will, yeah, let's just leave it at that, and I will see you in the next video.